So today I'm working on this guy. It's a 2002 R34 race car. I'm going to start by taking off these under panels. I got my own tools today, unfortunately. Mainly just because all the toolboxes are at the races. Please don't be a 4. Hopefully it's a 5. Here's what this one is, right? Oh no, it is a 4. It's a 3 though. You can see that. It's a... I doubt they'd use 2.5. Oh, never mind. It's 3. Right, this is 3 or is this 4? I left my 4 at home, I guess. Or my 5. So I'm gonna take off all of these under panels, especially that back one, because that has the differential, which I believe is leaking. And we'll see where this ends up. So this is kind of interesting to note. I have different lengths fasteners here. This is the first car I've seen actually do this. From working here, but so that's about 10 mil thick. That's about 15 or 20, probably 20 mil thick. And each of these is labeled, or not thick, long, lengthwise, sorry. But each of these is labeled with the length of the hardware. Where's the next one? So there's that one. That one's going to be a 15 mil bolt. So you can see this under tray is actually fairly well documented on the car, which is nice, because it's really easy to kind of lose track of fasteners if you're not kind of anal about your bolt tracking. So that's kind of cool. Alright, so I got all that hardware off. As you can see from these wet spots, there's a couple leaks. This is a sequential gearbox. It hasn't been used in a while. I mean, there's not even an engine in the thing. The VQ TT that ran this at one point is long gone, and we are hard pressed to find another. But it's leaking, it looks like, towards the front. You can kind of see where it puddles up. I'm trying to find the wet spot. And then kind of along the right side. Also, this thing was underneath this cap doodad. It looks like it might be used for the air jack, but at the same time it's got a bearing in it. I'm not sure what this is, but it's sitting it's sitting about right there on the tray. So I'll have to look that up. Oh look, this has a part number, which is interesting. And all this is just an under tray, carbon under tray held together with nut plates instead of rib nuts. Nut plates are probably better in the long run, just because rib nuts will strip out after long periods of use. Yeah, but yeah. So that tray is out. Next up, I'm probably going to do the front splitter / diffuser doodad that they and then I'll check to see what's leaking towards the rear. I mean, it's got to be the differential, but we'll see if it's a seal, or we'll see where it's leaking on the differential. So come to think of it, there's a lot of oil pooling up around like these nut plates, right, on the car. Or I don't know if they're, yeah, they are nut plates. Just specific ones. This one right here. There was one other kind of further forward that I wiped up. But that leads me to believe, because there's a massive oil cooler back here. This is a key difference coming from the 98s to the, or no, was it the 2000s? I don't remember what the other ones were, but that's the oil cooler setup. So they have a primary cooler probably for oil, and then gearbox and transmission coolers kind of deep in there. That's a key difference. I'm gonna show you guys the older one. The older one has all three oil coolers at the same. They're the same, but you have trans, diff, and oh, it's a brake. Then what was the oil cooler on this one? I'll have to look at that, but they all kind of go under here and get cooled, whereas that one's different. But my theory is, I'll have to check underneath. But that's close enough to transmission tunnel. Maybe they ran some AN lines through this area. Those are the heat, which would make more sense because of residual oil left in the coolers once the engine was pulled. So I think my suspicion is coming more to life because I just pulled off. I'll back up a little bit. I just started pulling off this little carbon panel right here. You can see the seepage. So we'll probably have to get in there at some point and just look at the AM lines, clean it up with some degreaser, brake clean, whatever comes first. I don't think I need to remove that panel though, because now that I look at it, it's still solid. This is chassis. The drivetrain goes through the chassis, so I probably only need to remove the rear diffuser. So we'll see. More interesting things about this GT-R. I guess I should have mentioned this at the start, but I mean I knew this already, but it is a rear-wheel drive. Only the rear wheels are connected to the engine. You can see if I turn this one, they both turn. It's basically a lock differential, and then the front two are independent, so turning, not turning. Also, so yeah, the front wheels are not drive wheels. That's the case for most R34 race cars, even the Pikes Peaks ones. For GTRs in general, for GTR race cars in general. There's even more coolers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different coolers in the back of this thing, and that's all I can see right now. Anyway, so the majority of this under tray is actually steel. It's steel because it's rusting. There's just a bit of surface rust. It's nothing to worry about though. We can clean it up with a wire brush or a wire wheel. But yeah, so that surprised me that they made that out of steel instead of something like aluminum. I don't know if it was a rules requirement for the GT500 series, or I guess that's Super GT now, isn't it? Or what? I also have some kind of drain here. I don't know. This thing's interesting. I should also probably mention that I'm not the first person to get their hands on this car. It's probably been worked on here in the States before I've touched it. Whether it had an engine at one point or not, here in the States at least, we're talking after the car's career. In 2002, this is a vintage race car now. But there's little things like these. This is, I'm not even going to peel that off, it's sticking there, but that's aluminum tape or something with a nut plate underneath. So there's some kind of, I don't know if there was a tray that kind of spanned the entirety of the car. I mean, that's an OEM part. It's a Nismo part. It doesn't look like it's been cut any. Some of the holes have been drilled out a little bit, which is not great. That one over there did race in the States for a little while as a vintage car before we started rebuilding it. And there were some hack jobs from the previous owner. One including really abysmal engine mount destruction. So yeah, I'm gonna finish taking off this under tray. So this diffuser isn't quite as nice to take off. Luckily, can I turn a light or no? No, I cannot. Luckily, back of this side, there's a welded 10 mil. So I don't actually have to worry about removing it or holding it back there. Probably still good precaution, but it was designed not to be that way, so I'm gonna need to break this. Oh. Filming and working is hard. Extendo ratcheto. Is all. Alright, time to get a breaker bar and try something else. Have to do what I did last time. Alright, so got a breaker bar now. Not a big one. Just couldn't get the leverage in this tiny space. Now I should be able to. Oh, I thought I just broke my tool. Wouldn't be surprised, they are Harbor Freight. It's still good. I'll upgrade one day. Oh, it's loose now. So now I just got to finish it up with a 1/4 inch. And a little adjustable doodad. And it looks like after that all I have to deal with are some... So I have to deal with these brackets, which are bolted on from the inside. Because you can see right there, it's only riveted. And then I probably have to remove a couple more bolts, just... I don't know, these bolts look like they might be holding on something. That, or they're holding the two parts of the tray together. I think I might want to separate the tray, but we'll see. So that was the second tray. For future reference for myself, the short bolt, the short hardware. This is, I think it was a size 3. That goes up front in these holes. So around there, those are the front hardware. The longer small hardware, so about like that, goes in these back holes and connects the panel to the diffuser. And then the main hardware are these slightly thicker bolts, which go into these nut plates. There's 6 of these nut plates along these rails. So that's fairly simple. And then these 2 bolts, the main bolts are for the connection right here. So those are the adjustable parts which hold it all together. That was kind of a pain. You might want to replace that with steel. If not, strip it of paint, get it powder coated, or rattle can it. One of the two, but yeah, it was heavy. I had to support it with my head. But it's off. I don't know if I need to take off this rear diffuser now. That panel kind of just, it opened up a lot. Not everything. I'm not sure what to do about this diffuser plate, or this plate right here. Ow. Doggone it, low hanging fruit. Because there's a differential and there's still that plate there, which just seems to bolt to the, I might be able to take that off because it only, I need to back up with this camera, but those are the only bolts that I can see connecting it. There's 6 of those. I can't see much else in there. So we'll see if I can expose. Do we have a differential exposed to the other one? We may not need to. That's a good question. No, there's a panel like that in the other one too. You can see it right there. So, no, I think I'm just gonna maybe take off the front and rear diffusers now that that panel is off. I kind of have plenty of access just off of that. I mean, all of that was covered before. I'll back up a little more. You can see how much I got now. So I can start taking tabs on everything. I want to get to the AN lines though, to the coolers. I'm not sure. But that's where I am right now. That's probably where this is going to end for today, just until I get further direction from the guy who knows what he wants to do with the car. I guess I should update on a few things about the oil leaks as well. So this panel right here wasn't for the differential. The differential's further back. You can see where the plate was against the tray. That was for access to the drive shaft bolts. So those are there, and they are leaking. You can see right there. There's some kind of fluid. It smells like gear oil. But not very strong. And I don't even know I'm not experienced enough to be calling those shots. So there seems to be a lot of stuff with it coming out of there. I can't see much in there for leaks. And now that I think of it, I should probably take off the trunk and spoiler and the front bumper and hood as well. One last thing before I drop this, I thought it was kind of funny, but the starter is a Toyota starter. I mean, it's a Denso part, but it's for a Toyota. Not sure what brand of transmission this is. It's an X-Track. So X-Track uses Toyota starters. As far as I can tell, I mean, the flywheel is still going to be different from car to car, and this uses VQ, but there's no telling what kind of flywheel it uses. So let's drop this down. Pull one of these guys. Come on. Oh, there we go. Now we're far enough. We're going to drop it low enough to get the front and rear, so the front hood, rear trunk, and spoiler. The rear spoiler is just on there right now. Let's get it back up to the first lock. Keep it on the lift and not on its wheels. So yeah, this isn't even bolted in right now, this splitter. You can see that. So that'll come off easily, and I believe the trunk, or not the trunk. Wait, what am I? Spoiler. This is a hood. Talking to cameras. So I believe the hood. It's all carbon, by the way, which is pretty cool. And it's got this duct which goes into the cabin. But I believe it's just those for the hood. And then the front end, you have some supports there. That looks like it's for the front diffuser though. Plus there's the harness, which is connected. Looks like those are HID or something. Japanese. So I'll get this car naked. Okay, more cool engineering things. So this is the duct. So there's the cabin ducts there, and that's the duct for all the oil coolers. You know, the various oil coolers and brake coolers and stuff like that. You can see a couple little coolers. Calsonic is the brand of those. Where the AN lines go, it looks like my suspicions were correct. They go straight through with kind of the floor panel. But yeah, this is a cool carbon piece. And another thing, this is on the old car, but I've checked it over here. It's the same. Their suspension is really interesting, for one. So, I'm level to the ground, right? And that's the shock. So it's a lower center of gravity. A lot of, F1 cars and stuff, they use inboard suspension, where they have an arm, kind of like this arm, but it goes down at the bottom of the double wishbone. And then their shocks are mounted up here, or Indy cars and such, they have a pull system where this arm actually goes from the upper control arm down below. Can't really do that on this car because the engine is the lowest point. I mean, that thing is down there. All that sway bar and stuff's all up top. But it goes down, and then, you know, inboard of the car, it goes straight in. This actually has a pivot built right here. Which obviously that pivot's right there. And then as this shock moves up, or as this, get in here, as this strut, or this little, what would you call this? This little bar here moves up, it translates that into like front back motion and allows you to mount the shock like that, which is really interesting. These shocks are replaced from the original ones. We use Penske. So, but that's cool engineering stuff. I'm gonna get off the hood now and probably call it until Boss Man gets around. So this car, I just keep finding little things. This actually has a little cotter pin, and the hood has a little quick release system, which is sick because I don't have to realign it afterwards. And I mean, it's a race car, so it's not too much to expect, but it's still cool. Also, these wheel tubs are just like non-structural aluminum. Actually, they might be steel, but I haven't tested for magnetism. Ooh, excuse me. But yeah, so I'm just cool little stuff. This car's nice. So yeah, now that those are off, you can see it's just a little, you can probably see it before, but it's just a little pin that it pivots on. I'm gonna try and reinstall these so they don't get lost somewhere. I mean, they're all tied to themselves, so they shouldn't get lost, but it's better safe than sorry with a one-of-a-kind race car in the States. So that little cotter pin just holds the hinge. Makes it fairly simple. Come back through. But on your own, it's a little bit frustrating, especially when you only have one hand. But not impossible. Now that that's off, you can see the engine bay. I got a bunch of aluminum tape on that firewall. They are using a different type of, do they not have a sway bar in this one? Oh, let's get underneath real fast. Poke around. So those are the arms. Same type of suspension, you can see it up there. Oh, the sway bar goes forward, you can see that. So that's the, or is that the rack? It might be the steering rack. Well, look. The steering rack is up top, but obviously you want things as low as possible on a race car. Oh yeah, I think that's the steering rack. Yeah. So that's the steering arm. So really straight, that's nice. It doesn't have to make a sharp downturn. So that's the steering rack. Goes that's the arm for the steering. And there's the rack. I am struggling with terms on the spot right now. And then There looks to be something else down there. So there's that, and then there's that. I'd have to pull off the wheels, but we don't have a 12.70 mil socket. I need to get one of those. These are single lug for quick pit stops. So I need to get a 70 mil 12 point ordered. Here's the interior. It's pretty simple. We'll probably replace the electronics with Motec. I'm not even sure what brand that is. Pi? Yeah, it's Pi. You can see it right there. Pi Electronics, but you know, Motec is in the area, and I have no idea what type. It probably uses that OEM Nissan ECU, since this is a factory race car, not a shop built race car. So yeah, whichever one of these is the ECU. I remember that one is running semi-Motec. The previous owner might still be the owner, I don't know. I'm just working on them, but it was halfway swapped to Motec for some reason. They should have gone all the way, because the electronics started bugging out, and there's nobody in the States who really knows what to do. There's the control panel. Some buttons here on the steering column. Is that what it's called? No, it's not the column. Shaft? That's what it is, the steering shaft. Pedal box, fairly simple. Bottom mount, low center of gravity. That's one of the air jacks. For those of you who haven't seen those before. Just lines going up and down. X2Q00EBK. We don't have really a book. It tells us what the harness is, which is why we'll probably have to rewire it. The sequential shifter. I'm not sure what that other lever is though. Wipers, fuel, EPS. So yeah, this is the number 23 2002 series Japan GT Championship R34 factory race car. You got some cool stuff right there. Volk wheels or rays, I guess. I'm not the most knowledgeable JDM guy for this, but I can work on it. There's each of these has 2 fuel ports, which I'm not sure why. I probably just load more fuel quicker. You know, get fuel in, drive on out. NGK. See all the sponsors. CFD Design, or CF Design. That's Aero. Performance Friction, Carbon Metallic. You can see all these sponsors. You know, here in the States, we don't have many of these companies, but we use other companies. Like, we'll probably redo all the AM lines with Brown and Miller. Probably fix this. That's what that was. That was I don't want to say, where does it go? I don't want to say anything just yet, but I'm guessing just kind of a blow-by tank or something. There's a reservoir right there for whatever that cooler is. Like I said, the Calsonic coolers. It's pretty cool. That is brake fluid, I believe. So that would be a brake fluid reservoir. Shoot.
That's why I have a case. Caught it on something, and they're all labeled. You can see that there. So that's what those numbers on the lines correspond to. And these numbers, if you remember those. Yeah, why would you have... It seems kind of redundant to use aluminum tape on both sides. The reflective side is the one keeping the heat out. Otherwise, this is just insulation on the inside, which I think you'd want. I guess it makes sense. The dash is not actually flocked. It is a piece of suede glued to the dash, but it's not flocked in the traditional sense where they use the cloth flakes or the suede flakes. So yeah. Oh, and then these were the drivers. This one actually, I think there's a more recognizable name over here. I don't know enough, but these three guys were the drivers of these cars. So there's one more over there too. I showed it in another video. That one might be for sale, but I'm not sure as of yet. It's got to be. Right now it's kind of a parts car, kind of just over there, but it's the same year as the other one, which I believe those are both either 99 or 2000. So turn of the century cars. But yeah, it's very interesting what these got. Like I said, this one uses a twin turbo VQ motor, not the 370Z or 350Z motor, whatever that one is. It's a 3-liter VQ, whereas the 350 is a 3.5 liter. You can see just how far back they push that thing, but when you drop 2 cylinders off when you drop 3 cylinders off the front and add 3 cylinders to the side, you can push it way back there. But it's a 3-liter VQ with twin turbos, which is why you have intercoolers and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, R34 GT series race car from Japan. Interesting stuff.